Hey everyone, how's it going? In the UK, Doctor Strange has now been out for almost an entire weekend and it has given people a chance to see the movie. Lots and lots of people have flocked to the cinemas to see Doctor Strange and given their thoughts, and now we get to talk about some spoilers. Let's get straight on it. My discount cloak of levitation's on. Doctor Strange. So it opens with a really cool action scene that really sets the scene for the film. You've got like these sort of the buildings are turning, all Inception-like, and people running up them and fighting, and it is very, very cool to look at. And you just think this really sets the tone, and then it cuts straight to Benedict Cumberbatch after this fight with the Ancient One and the villain Caecilius. And then it cuts to Stephen Strange, and the car crash sequence from that scene really is spectacular. But I've already told you about the basic plot of the film, so we don't really need to cover that. But that was spectacular to see, especially in 3D. There's a character, I can't exactly remember his name, he like broke his back, and this is how Stephen Strange finds out about the Ancient One and about the temple where he obviously becomes the Sorcerer Supreme. So there's a character who breaks his back and he finds out that he was completely recovered, and he's like, how did you do it? It was impossible. And he tells him about this temple, and Stephen Strange goes there to try and cure his hands because he wants his old hands back so he can do his job again. And this scene was so cool. He goes into the temple and he's arguing with the Ancient One, and he's like, no, there's no such thing. We're matter. We're not spiritual. And then she pushes him out of his body, and he goes on this crazy mind trip. And this was where I just thought to myself, yeah, the tone is set. This film's going to be trippy as balls. And he's flying around, and you can hear her talking to him through like the speakers, but it feels like it's coming through the chairs, and it was pretty amazing, but pretty spooky at the same time. And then obviously there's this whole journey of Stephen Strange becoming Doctor Strange. But two of the characters that did intrigue me were at first Caecilius, but also Baron Mordo. I love my boy Wong. Wong is the number one. There is this very funny scene where he's in the library and Stephen Strange is like putting his hands through these different portals and stealing these books, and Wong's listening to Single Ladies by Beyonce. And yeah, it's much better in context. But Caecilius intrigued me at first because I was thinking, oh, there's another sorcerer from the Dark Dimension, but he really isn't the main villain of the movie. But I'll talk about more about the Dark Dimension in him. But Mordo as well, he isn't what he seems on first glance, which I'll talk about after. But let's talk about this Dark Dimension stuff. So Caecilius reveals to Stephen Strange that the Ancient One's actually gathering power from the Dark Dimension to keep herself alive. Obviously, we don't believe him, but we find out that this is true, and that the Dark Dimension is like how you get eternal life. And that scene was very good. And then Stephen gets stabbed, and he ends up back in the hospital with Rachel McAdams' character, Christine, and he gets her to operate on him. But this scene was great. He comes out of his body, and he's sort of trying to guide her into not killing him. And then the character who stabbed him actually comes through the portal in his spirit form while the cloak's like suffocating him. And they're having this fight in spirit form, and it was just, that must have been a bitch to film, but it was awesome. That scene was great. But yeah, so Caecilius reveals that the Ancient One is actually taking magic from the Dark Dimension, and then there's this really trippy fight scene where they're running across the buildings again, and all the world, they're in the mirror dimension, and the worlds are just like twisting around, and they're running across. And the Stan Lee cameo in this scene was great. Strange and Mordo fall onto this bus, and Stan Lee's just in the bus reading the magazine, and he's like, or a book or whatever, and he's like, that's hilarious. And it was like, yeah, I know who that is, and I love it. So yeah, you get that. But yeah, when the Ancient One is revealed, she is in fact stabbed, and you're thinking, okay, pretty emotionally heart-wrenching scene, I guess, because you find out that she's not what she seems to be. And then Strange takes her to Christine to get her fixed up, and she leaves her body, and she decides that this is the time when she wants to go. She wants to be out of that body, and she feels like it's her time. But you're feeling for her, and you're feeling for Strange, and you're like, come on, you can't do this now. You've been through so much together in the space of an hour and a half. But yeah, so they have this conversation, she leaves, and she explains why she was taking this magic from the Dark Dimension. She wanted the eternal life. Dark Dimension is not what it seems. And we get our final action scene, which was incredible. So Caecilius and his people from the Dark Dimension confront Strange in Hong Kong because there's three Sanctum Sanctoriums. I should have mentioned that there's three sanctums for the sorcerers: London, Hong Kong, New York, and this one takes place in Hong Kong. And all the Dark Dimension is brought to Earth. But Strange realizes he has the Eye of Agamotto, which he can use to turn back time and turn it forward, and he stops it. But in the end, he can't actually stop it, so he goes up to the Dark Dimension and confronts the main villain of the entire movie, who's this giant talking head. And he's like, I've come to bargain. And he keeps getting killed and killed and killed until this giant head actually gets like bored of it. Yeah, he actually gets bored of it and he's like, hey man, I'm not going to keep killing you. Screw this, you can go back to Earth. But yeah, Strange is like, if you break this loop, I'll stop doing this. And he actually outwits this giant head that keeps killing him because the head's just like, nah, I'm bored of this. And I love that. And I love how they address like that Doctor Strange is actually a doctor, that Stephen is a doctor. Because there's a bit where he's like, I just killed a guy. This was the scene where he was fighting the villain that came out of his body, and he's come out of his body and all that. And he's like, I just killed a guy. And, you know, I don't want to do that again. I swore to protect the people, not kill them, and I've just killed a guy. And that was a pretty good scene. Pretty well acted by Cumberbatch. But let's talk about what everyone's come here for, the post-credits scenes. There is two, and they are very, very good. The first one is Thor and Strange talking about how they need to find Odin, and if they do, Thor and Loki will return to Asgard. And Doctor Strange is like, hey, you want some tea? Because earlier on in that trippy scene where he's like flying around, he was drinking tea. And Thor's like, I don't drink tea. And then he's just got this huge mug of beer, like the one I was drinking in the Attack of the Clones video. And he drinks it all, and then it just fills itself up again. There's not an entire huge lot to the scene, but it was good, and it explains that Doctor Strange will in fact be in Thor Ragnarok helping these guys out to find Odin. So that was great. I really, really liked that. And I can't wait to see Thor actually return with Doctor Strange in the next movie. I'm hoping that was a scene taken straight from the movie, because when Ant-Man came out, there was a post-credit scene that was ripped straight from Civil War. So I'm hoping this was ripped straight from Ragnarok, because I want to see Doctor Strange play a pretty, not a massive part, because obviously it's a Thor movie, but I want to see him play a pretty big part in the movie, because that would be awesome. And then the last one we get, after all the credits, safe to the very, very end, is Baron Mordo, and he finds the dude I mentioned with the broken back, and he's like, hey man, how's it going? And he just rips all the power from his body, rips all the magic. His back remains broken, and he's like, yeah man, too many sorcerers, bro. And you're like, Baron Mordo's a dick. Because like he takes all the magic and keeps it for himself, and you're just thinking, he wants to do right and everything, but that dude had a broken back. What a dick. And it makes Baron Mordo into a less of a likable character and sets him up for a villain for the next movie. And it's like, I really want to see that, because Baron Mordo was one of my favourite characters in this film, one of the best acted characters in this film, and I want to see Benedict Cumberbatch and Baron Mordo, or should I say Doctor Strange and Baron Mordo, go at it like foes. That would be awesome. I want to see some sorcerer on sorcerer action. We sort of had that with Caecilius, but he didn't play a massive huge part. So yeah, I want to see sorcerer on sorcerer action. And I did hear that the Ancient One will be returning for Infinity War, so I want to see if that's actually true and how they do that, because like I said, she was killed off in this movie, but if they can pull it off, they can pull it off, and I would like to see that, because she was a great character, and I want to see more of this Dark Dimension stuff. Oh yeah, and at the end they did reveal that the Eye of Agamotto is in fact a Infinity Stone. It was actually a quote by Wong, and he's like, you don't want to be walking around carrying an Infinity Stone. And it's like, I understood that reference. So yeah, we have an Infinity Stone, we have the Dark Dimension, we have Thor in this movie. I want to see how that all adds into the rest of the MCU, and I cannot wait to see that, because the MCU is an event. The films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe are an event to watch. And I really am looking forward to seeing how they add all of this into the wider universe. I'm guessing maybe Doctor Strange might play a part in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Maybe they'll mention the Dark Dimension or something, I don't know. It's all speculation right now, but I'm so looking forward to seeing what they can do next. And let me know if you've seen Doctor Strange yet and what you think of it. And where does it rank in your MCU listings? It's near the top for me. I love this movie. But yeah, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys soon.